The first time Amara tasted someone else's memory, she thought the salt had gone bad. She was clearing tables at the end of her shift at Cornflower Bistro, gathering half-eaten plates the way other 20-year-olds collected study notes, when she slipped a lone French fry into her mouth, too tired to notice that it belonged to a stranger. The moment potato met tongue, a panorama bloomed behind her eyelids. A sun-bleached pier, wood slats warm under bare feet, gulls spiraling over a first kiss that tasted of cherry lip balm and anxious hope. The sensation vanished as quickly as it arrived, leaving only the ordinary tang of fryer oil. Amara's heart pounded. Nothing in culinary school had prepared her for psychic pier fries. She dumped the rest of the plate into the trash, rinsed her mouth as if memory were a contagion, and told herself it was exhaustion playing tricks. Still, in bed that night, she could smell the ocean on her pillow, and the shy laughter from the vision threaded through her dreams like a song she used to know by heart. Morning light found her experimenting. She brewed coffee, sipped it, then dabbed her finger into yesterday's cold latte her roommate had abandoned. The latte unfurled a scene of fluorescent study halls, caffeine-jittered cramming, and a final exam walked out of in tears. The regular coffee revealed nothing, so it was only the scraps she deduced, only what someone had started and left unfinished. Leftovers, remains, regrets. For weeks she tested in secret, a wilted salad from a breakup lunch, a half-eaten cinnamon roll from a grandmother who shouldn't have sugar anymore, a lone dumpling from a student aching for home. Each fragment delivered a memory, and each memory carried an aftertaste of longing. The stronger the regret embedded in the abandoned food, the clearer Amara tasted it. She wondered if this was a curse or a calling, but rent was due, and the bistro's head chef, Martine, had finally offered her a chance at the line, provided she proved she could invent dishes worthy of the upcoming fall menu. Amara decided the only way to stay afloat was to dive straight into the strange sea that had chosen her. Cornflower Bistro occupied a brick corner of Old Harbor Street, a place tourists stumbled into for artisanal comfort food and locals treated as a confessional booth with better lighting. Amara knew every regular's favorite plate. Nora the florist loved the beet risotto, the Cray twins split the smoked brisket. Mr. Reed, the retired accountant, ordered soup no matter the season. Now she began to stalk their cleared dishes like a detective. A third of Reed's Monday minestrone always returned untouched. When Amara sneaked a spoonful, she reeled beneath the weight of gray filing cabinets, the endless shuffle of spreadsheets, and a lonely apartment whose silence was padded by encyclopedias no one read. The sadness clung to her tongue, metallic and stubborn. Reed during lunch was all jokes about baseball scores. His soup told the truth. That evening she simmered marrow bones for hours, building a dark, glossy broth layered with umami and faint star anise sweetness. Complex enough for a man who had spent his life cataloging numbers most people ignored. The next day she presented the bowl to him on the house. He tasted, paused, and tears gathered in the corners of his mild eyes. "This reminds me of my mother's kitchen," he whispered. He finished every drop. Word spread that Cornflower's new junior chef possessed uncanny intuition. Customers began requesting the Amara Special, though none could explain what made it special. She listened to the leftovers. A plate of linguine from a flustered art teacher revealed a studio full of unfinished canvases. She crafted for him saffron tagliatelle tossed with mussels that opened like blooming ideas. And 2 weeks later he announced his first gallery showing. A half piece of carrot cake from a 10th anniversary dinner showed her a young couple who no longer held hands. Amara sent out a tasting flight of miniature desserts designed for sharing, each portion requiring them to feed one another. The evening ended with laughter sticky as caramel. She began a notebook sketching connections between flavor compounds and emotional residues, as if charting constellations only she could see. The menu, once static, transformed daily, swayed by the silent chorus of unspoken regrets. One rainy Thursday, an elderly woman appeared, slender as a stork, her silver hair twisted into an impeccable chignon. She ordered the house gnocchi, requested extra parmesan, and ate mechanically until a single pillow remained. Amara, hands trembling, tasted it in the kitchen. The vision slammed into her. A hospital room, antiseptic brightness, a pale man clutching a visitor badge. He asked, "Will you forgive me?" But the woman in the chair, this same customer, decades younger, could not muster the word. The man died before she spoke. The flavor was ash and wilted violets. Amara's first instinct was to chase the sorrow away with sugar, but sweetness would only glaze the wound. She remembered reading that violets once symbolized faithfulness. She foraged candied violets from a supplier, ground them into powder, folded them with ricotta and lemon zest into new gnocchi dough, then finished the dish with a clear broth steeped in toasted violets and white pepper. When the bowl reached the table, the woman inhaled sharply. She closed her eyes after the first bite, palms pressed flat to the linen as if steadying herself on the edge of an old cliff. Minutes passed before she beckoned Amara. "My brother," she said hoarsely. "He loved violets. I never told him I did too." She left that night with a small box of the violet powder tied in ribbon, and Amara felt the restaurant breathe easier, as though forgiveness itself had opened a window. Not every case succeeded. One afternoon, a brusque venture capitalist left half a seared scallop, and the taste was jet fuel, spreadsheets, and a family portrait whose glass was cracked. Amara constructed a dish echoing Sunday roasts, hearth, and rosemary, but the man devoured it without comment and immediately asked for the check, scrolling through emails. The lesson was humbling. A chef can offer nourishment, but swallowing is a choice. Still, Martine observed the majority of transformations and, impressed, promoted her to sous chef. He did not question her methods. Chefs, like magicians, rarely unpack another's trick as long as audiences applauded. Life accelerated until Amara barely recognized the girl who'd once scraped rent together with instant noodles. Yet the ability that elevated her career also scalded at unexpected moments. On her day off, she met her mother for brunch, and when the older woman excused herself to the restroom, Amara unconsciously forked a crumb of her mother's untouched waffle. Instantly, she was inside their old apartment, age 10, overhearing her parents argue about money. The argument ended with her father packing a duffel bag. Her mother, present day, returned to the table, saw Amara's shaken expression, and misread it as indigestion. The urge to craft a dish for her mother, to salve that buried fear of abandonment, became an ache Amara carried back to the bistro. Yet every concept she tried felt dishonest. Food could not replace a father. For the first time, her gift offered no recipe. She understood she was tiptoeing around her own regrets, not her customers', and that difference changed the flavor entirely. Martine announced a charity banquet hosting donors, critics, and the mayor, a chance to solidify Cornflower's rising reputation. He gave Amara carte blanche to design the 6-course tasting menu. She decided secretly that each course would speak to a universal regret. Words unsaid, risks untaken, love unclaimed, time misused, places left, and finally, forgiveness withheld. In the week leading up to the banquet, she prowled the dining room after closing, sampling staff leftovers for guidance. From dishwasher Diego's abandoned empanada, she tasted homesickness for Oaxaca and folded its smoky heat into a chili-infused butter. From hostess Lila's half-glass of Merlot, she drank the loneliness of pretending confidence. and spun that into an amuse-bouche of tiny grape spheres wrapped in edible gold leaf, fragile yet shining. She layered the banquet like a symphony, each movement resolving in crescendo. The night arrived. Candles flickered against navy linen, silverware glinting like instruments tuned for revelation. Course 1, tongues untied, was a shooter of chilled tomato water spiked with horseradish and basil pollen, explosive enough to jolt conversation. Course 2, risks untaken, paired raw sea urchin with black garlic, the ocean and the earth daring diners to bridge impossible distances. As plates cleared, Amara roamed, reading faces the way she once read textbooks. Eyes widened, spines relaxed, laughter crescendoed. When Course 4 arrived, the squandered hour, it was a slow-poached egg floating in dashi, yolk the color of late afternoon sunlight never appreciated until gone. Silence swept the room as spoons cracked the whites. Amara felt the collective inhalation, the clock rewinding for everyone at once. Back in the kitchen, she tasted a single smear left on a plate destined for the dishwasher. The vision that hit her was her own, standing in the doorway at 15, debating whether to follow her father down the hall before it was too late. She had stayed frozen, tongue glued to her teeth. The memory overcame her so suddenly that she dropped the plate, porcelain shattering. Shards skittered under prep tables. Martine started concerned. Amara excused herself to the alley, lungs knotted. How could she guide others through regrets when hers remained raw as an unhealed burn? For minutes she stood among dumpsters, cool night peeling sweat from her skin, until a form of clarity arrived, quiet as dew. The final course must address forgiveness regardless of outcome, even if a father never returns. She re-entered, hands steady, and built the dessert. Honey semifreddo between almond lace crisps, drizzled with burnt orange caramel, crowned by a violet petal identical to the powder she had gifted the elderly woman. The servers carried it out as grace, a sweetness tempered by smoke, the floral whisper of possibility. Diners leaned into candlelight, sharing plates, breaking the delicate lace so shards touched across the table like new maps. The room's emotional timbre shifted, from nostalgia into release, like exhaling after decades of chest-tight holding. A few people dabbed their eyes. The mayor requested another bite. Amara watched through the service window, heart banging but light. After the final applause died and guests filed out with donation envelopes, Amara returned to the dining room to supervise breakdown. Mr. Reed approached, cheeks ruddy. Beside him stood the elderly Violet woman, Nora the florist, and the art teacher, all patrons transformed in small ways by her dishes. They had congregated by happenstance at the banquet and discovered, comparing stories, that Amara's cooking connected them. "We owe you more than compliments," Reed said, pressing an envelope into her hand. Inside lay a note of thanks and a simple sentence. "Your food made room for my son and me to speak at last." Others offered similar messages. The florist brought a bouquet of cornflowers and violets. For the first time since discovering her gift, Amara felt the reciprocity of what she had been giving. She walked home through streets rinsed by recent rain, envelope warming her palm. In her apartment, she did something she had avoided for years. She dialed her father's last known number. It rang until voicemail. Her throat closed, but she left a message anyway, voice trembling yet audible. "I'm here. Whenever you're ready, I'd like to cook for you." She hung up, uncertain whether relief or sorrow dominated, but the act itself tasted of lemon zest, bright, piercing, cleansing. Days passed. The restaurant thrummed with new reservations. Amara continued listening to leftovers, yet she set boundaries. A sip, not a gulp. A note, not a symphony. She focused on teaching younger cooks how to taste metaphorically, if not psychically. Ask where a carrot grew, who stirred the soup, what story the sear lines whisper. One afternoon, amid prep, a package arrived without return address. Inside nested a tin of smoked sea salt from a small coastal town, and a short letter in handwriting she recognized from childhood birthday cards. It read, "Tried your message, heard the ocean again. May I visit? Dad." Underneath lay a single cornflower pressed flat, its blue vibrant despite the journey. That evening, Amara sat alone in the closed dining room. She opened the tin, dabbed a few grains on her tongue, and waited. No vision came, not someone else's past, but her own future unfurling. A kitchen's glow, her father seated at the counter while she sautéed shallots, the aroma of possibility rising like steam. It was not certainty, but it was enough. She breathed in, tasting salt and promise, understanding at last that memories, like recipes, could be altered, seasoned, even rewritten, one dish at a time.